Hello and welcome to the Candid Cash Flow Podcast, episode 57. I'm your host, Ava Fales. Hey y'all, and happy Wednesday. So, here we are, episode 57 of the Candid Cash Flow Podcast, and today I'm going to talk about the benefits of emailing your list every day. So, late last year, late 2019, I began studying copywriting, not as like a new thing, but just sort of it was something that I started paying more attention to, the difference between copywriting and just writing web content. So just to be quick and like in my own words, the difference that we're talking about is that copywriting is something that is designed to sell products, while just plain web content is, your run-of-the-mill blog posts and things like that are meant to inform, answer a question, solve a problem, that kind of thing. So that's the differentiation between those two. Copywriting sells stuff, content informs. So as I was studying copywriting, I came across the name Ben Settle. Now, Ben, he's kind of this cocky dude, and he's earned his stripes in copywriting to the point that he doesn't even write for clients anymore. He just writes to his email list on a daily basis, and then he writes this monthly newsletter called Email Players that costs $97 a month to even get your hands on this thing. And it's a print newsletter, as in he prints it and sends it via snail mail to these people. And he has I think the last time I heard him mention a number, it was in the 500 person range. So you do the math there, 500 times $97 a month that he's sending out this print newsletter to. I signed up for Ben's email list and I started listening to his old podcast episodes. And a lot of what he was saying started to resonate with me a bit. Like, he doesn't do a lot of social media. In fact, I don't even think he's on Facebook at all. He has been on Facebook in the past, but he's not anymore. He doesn't do Twitter and Instagram and all this stuff. He writes to his email list and he puts out the Email Players print newsletter. That's what this guy does. And I don't usually gravitate towards arrogant people. That's usually a big turnoff for me. But there's something a little endearing about Ben. And maybe that's because he's an unapologetic introvert. I don't know. He doesn't care. He does his thing. And you can listen to him talk about his thing or not. He doesn't really care because, he's making his money on the back end. He's a very simple business model. He has one flagship product, and that is his Email Players newsletter. And then most of his daily emails have one goal, and that is to sell Email Players memberships. I find that kind of simplicity extremely interesting. This is the same type of simplicity that I would like to have in my own business. So I'm here to talk to you about emailing your list every day. And this wasn't something that I'd ever considered before. In fact, I found people who emailed me every day to be extremely annoying until Ben. And I don't read his emails every day. Sometimes I just tuck them away in a folder for when I have time to read them. I might go in and dust a few off. Here's the thing, though, with Ben. Ben doesn't put out a lot of free information, so his emails are really the only way to get your hands on what his copywriting is like. So when you get an email from Ben, you get more than just whatever he's trying to sell in that email. You get a lesson in copywriting and a lesson in and how to perform sales through writing, which is what copywriting is. So, it wasn't something that I ever considered doing myself. But he inspired me to dust off this old email list that I had laying around that was just sitting in, MailChimp waiting for me to do something with it. And the result was cathartic. Like, I wrote 5 emails the first day and I just scheduled them out. Rather than, sending my list to 5 emails, I just scheduled them out over the next 5 days. And I was like, great, there's my first 5 days of emails. Now I just kind of fly by the seat of my pants, and I write most of my emails the same day, which really isn't ideal because if something comes up, I either have to scramble and write an email or I have to be late with my email that day, meaning I have to write it later in the day and send it, in the evening or whatever. But, these are the types of things that you run into when you commit to write to your email list every day. So one thing that I'm going to say here is do as I say and not as I do. So like I said, I started off with this old email list that, it wasn't just from one website. It had been from a few websites that I'd had, most of which weren't even online anymore. And I'd merged it together and, it was 5 years old at least, maybe older than that. So what I had was about 260 subscribers on this email list, and between list hygiene, cleaning off the list, and a handful of unsubscribes that I got, I've ended up with exactly 42 people on my list. So I removed, more than 200 people from the list who were no longer engaging with my emails. They hadn't opened any one of my 10 most recent campaigns. And my email marketing service allowed me to segment those people out and remove them. I think most email marketing services or tools have tools in place that allow you to do that type of work with your list. So if you're, looking at Aweber, GetResponse, or one of those, I'm certain that you're able to do that with those tools as well. So even though my list is very small, the benefits that I get from emailing my list on a daily basis are many. So here's kind of a quick list of those benefits. So I get to practice my copywriting every day. So on a daily basis, I'm practicing, what I'm learning about copywriting and putting that into practice. I get inspired to write about all kinds of things from life, which wasn't happening before. So as most of you know, I help take care of my elderly parents, and so I have a daily commute now, which is something that I hadn't had before, October of last year for, nearly 5 years. So I have this daily commute, so I'm seeing more of the world on a daily basis than I was before. So these situations from life and just that tiny bit more of interaction in my day generates a lot of content. It generates a lot of content for this podcast. It generates content for my blog, and it generates content mainly for my emails. And so, what happens in turn is that those emails turn into content for other things. So I may email my list, like, for example, this morning I emailed my list about finding their target audience, because I'm working on a series right now about Internet Marketing 101. So you don't have to pay some guru to rehash all the trash out there about internet marketing. I'm just going to tell you the basics for free. So I started, I think this was the third in the series, and it was on target audience this morning. So what's going to happen when I complete that series is I'll have something that I can throw together into an ebook and use as a lead magnet. And that's something that's happening with not just the emails that I put into series, but it's also happening with, the emails that just kind of generate themselves. So, I've had situations where, like I said, I pulled a situation from life, told a story, whatever. Like I had one email, I think the title of it was Killing It in a Kia. And what had happened was I was driving along, and as happens so often on the highway, this person, passes me on the left side going probably, 80 miles an hour. And it was a silver Kia. When it got past me, like, I looked down, and on the bumper was a lone bumper sticker that said Killing It. And I just had to smile. Not because it was funny, but because, they're driving a Kia. This is my tribe. This would be somebody that I could resonate with. Yes, we're killing it. And I was sitting in a Kia myself. So, things like that I'm just able to pull. So I have all of these other emails that just get generated from things like that in life. So I have a list of email topics that I can pull from if I get stumped. But so often what happens is something will happen throughout the day that'll trigger, the following day's email. So it's just kind of this this generator for content that doesn't quit. And it wasn't something that I expected. Like, if somebody had told me, this is going to make you generate a bunch of content for your business or your podcast or whatever, I'd have been like, really? And that probably would have made me want to do it more, actually, because, I'm generating a lot more ideas. I'm generating a lot more content, and I'm generating a lot more ideas for content than just periodic brainstorming sessions that I was doing. So there's that whole content generator benefit. That's just, it's a lot of moving parts to it. I get feedback from an engaged subscriber base. So, I've got people that reply to my emails. I didn't even know they were there. They know me from my podcast. They know me from my website. They know me from, clients that I've worked with, Facebook groups, whatever. But I didn't even know they were there. I have this engaged subscriber base, so I receive feedback from them. I get, email suggestions, encouragement. And it's something nice to have there, because before that, it was like there wasn't anybody there. I'm sure, if you've listened to this show for any length of time, you've heard me say before that I don't get any feedback on the show. Well, that's no longer the case. About a year in to the Candy Cash Flow podcast, I started getting a little response back from people who were listening and whatnot. So, but I'm also getting that from email subscribers. So these people who subscribe to my list because the podcast are now, coming out of the woodwork and saying, hey, I know you from your podcast. Thanks for this email. And it's just kind of a nice little, it's a nice little morale booster, if I'm having an off week or something like that. So I've met new people in my network. So my email subscribers are not just, this group of people that I call subscribers to me. They're not just, my audience or my target audience or, some other equally boring buzzword. But to me, they're my friends. Like, these are people, that I can reach out to. I could go in and I could pick an email or, from my list or whatever, and I could email that person individually and it would know who I am. And, I could have a conversation with them. I've been able to build a rapport with my subscribers so that they get to know, like, and trust me. And in turn, I like to try and give that in return as much as I can. So, like I said, to me, they're my friends. Like, if one of my subscribers emailed me and said, hey, could you mention, my website in your podcast, or could you mention, this in a blog post or something like that, it'd definitely be something that I would consider, especially if I felt that it was beneficial to my audience and fit in with my niche. Like, I would totally be willing to plug, whatever for my audience, because like I said, they're my friends. So these are just a few of the benefits of emailing my list every day. It's a super small email list, but I have a lot of room to grow, and it can only grow as I learn better how to send traffic to my opt-in forms and better how to promote that list to others. If you'd like to see what other people are saying or consider opting into the list yourself, You can visit a page that tells you all about it at candidcashflow.com/email. I'm actually currently running a 30-day challenge with my email list for them to write every day. Whether that's to their list or not, they could write in a notebook. They could write jot a few sentences down on a napkin, whatever. They can keep notes. They just have to write something every day. And at the end of the 30-day period, we'll revisit the content from this last 30 days and see what we have that we can use in our business for blog posts, emails, or even books. And what I'm going to do is I'm about to turn some aspects of my projects into even more content by tracking my goals, projects, and my progress on my website. And that's going to live over at heyoava.com/goals. And I'll be tracking my daily stuff on that page. And that's over at HeyYoAva because that's my business, personal stuff, while CandidCashflow.com is just for the podcast and the Make Money Online side of things. So when you're generating content, it doesn't matter what kind it is because there's dozens of opportunities to repurpose content, just like we discussed in episode 31 of the Candid Cashflow podcast, which you can check out at heyoava.com/revive-old-content. Repurposing content is one of my favorite things. I like to talk about it. I like to, keep that in the back of my mind and consider new ways to do it. And with this whole email thing, I've just added a whole new facet of that onto everything that I'm doing. So I think there was like 18 or 20 ways to repurpose content. Like, for example, one thing that you can do is if you have a YouTube video, you can turn it into, or you can take the transcript from the YouTube video and turn it into a blog post. Or you can do the same thing with a podcast, and I do that with my podcast. So there's lots of ways to repurpose content, and everything like that you create is a new piece of content. So if you have a YouTube video that's on a topic and you create a blog post on that same topic, you have two different pieces of content. Then let's say you take your YouTube video and you tweet it, you write a Facebook status about it, and maybe you take the thumbnail and you upload it to Instagram. Now you have 3 more pieces of content. You can do the exact same thing with your blog post. So what you basically have is all of these pieces of content that are promoting this one single idea or one single, solution to a problem or piece of information that you've created this content about. So, it gets kind of huge really quickly, and the more pieces of content that you have out there, the more traffic that's going to see you online. So this is something that I'm focusing on for this year. I'm convinced that 2020 is going to be an amazing year in Ava World because I'm going to be fleshing out my content platform to bring in a decent sized audience and turn these online endeavors of mine into a full-time business. I think it's high time. I'm looking to move away from client work some and be more self-sustainable with what I'm trying to create and who I'm trying to create it for. So I hope that you'll stay tuned and consider subscribing to the Candid Cashflow podcast. You can do so in your favorite app by visiting candidcashflow.com/listen-now. Show notes for this episode will be available at candidcashflow.com/episode 57. Remember, I release a new episode each Wednesday. Until next time, turning your passion into cash flow.